I want you to know something absolutely amazing. And that thing is that you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively through a multitude of perspectives. It sounds rather incredible, doesn't it? But let's think about it. What are we? Well, we're carbon, calcium, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, just an array of atomic substances. And really, this is everything outside ourselves, isn't it? Like, really, it's just this quantum soup of energy. When we think about it, a tree isn't actually a tree because what is it made of? It's made of wood. Is it made of wood, or is it wood itself? Is wood actually made of carbon, or is it carbon itself? Is carbon made of atoms, or is it atoms itself? Are atoms not made of energy? No, they are energy itself. And this goes for anything. But basically what we're talking about here is the limitation of language. We're imposing all of these objectified terms like nouns, but there are no nouns in this universe. Let's take a whirlpool, for example, or a tornado. Is it actually the air swirling? Yes, but it's a name that we've applied to it. It's the same substance as everything outside of itself, as is with a whirlpool. There is no whirlpool there, it's just water swirling around. And this is an incredible realization that you can actually directly experience. It's not something to intellectualize. In fact, getting at this and trying to understand this is sort of like trying to bite your own teeth. You can't get at it from the rational, masculine mind. Joachim and Boaz in Freemasonry, right? Joachim is just one of the pillars. And like in Greek architecture, we have the Corinthian column, which is the feminine column. We also have the Doric column, which is the masculine. You need both of them to get through into the Ionic column, the Ion IC. This is a sort of way of thinking about it, right? When your eye is on, then you can see the truth that what is absolutely incredible is that we actually are mind itself. And mind is not something that's restricted to the contents of our cranium. It's not just in there, it's also out there. It's kind of coming to us. Our brains are receivers of this universal mind. If you're familiar with the natural laws and the Hermetic principles, the first is all is mind, the universe is mental. And that's briefly what we've discussed so far. There are many others, and principally another 6, which we will talk about in future videos, 7 Hermetic principles. But what is absolutely astonishing is that people are living their lives without this realization. Because why? We're sort of like, in this society, root-bound trees. If you've had any experience with gardening, you know that if you can contain a plant and restrict its roots, then the growth of the plant itself is also restricted. This is most notable in bonsai trees, but generally any plant, you try seeing it evolve, you try and see it growing into its fullness, it's not going to happen. Because like what's happening in society, in our education system, what it does is it takes us so far, but then it stops, and then we're left to our own devices to sort of like walk around, sleepwalking in this matrix that we're experiencing. And the expansion never comes our way because why? They've robbed us of the Eastern philosophy that should be integrated into Western schools. And that way of training the mind and raising the soul out of the tomb, again, Soma, Plato, the body is a tomb. We're born in a tomb, or we're not, we're born in a womb. We're born in a womb and we end up in a tomb. And according to Plato, it's the same place. So we are actually interred here. Interred meaning sort of like dead of sorts, like we're being inebriated and intoxicated by matter to make us think of ourselves as these separate entities moving around, because of course we can animate these fingers and animate these hands. But what is that animating principle? That animating principle is actually infinity itself, is what you call God, but it's just that it's restricting itself into the space-time distortion, if you're familiar with the law of one. That's what we are, with these space-time distortions. It's absolutely astonishing, it's amazing, and it's something that humble amazement requires if you're actually going to experience this yourself in a direct Satori Kensho awakening. Humble amazement is a prerequisite for coming to know God. And how do we get there? Well, we have to begin to contemplate. Remember, awe is the beginning of this awareness being bestowed upon the minds of anyone who's willing to engage in it. Again, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, right? This wonder, this incredible amazement that we should have, like in the face of a profound mystery, let's face it, no one really knows what the hell's going on. But, when we think about it, what we should be doing is waking up with the amazement that you might be faced with. If, for example, you go to bed, like say, for example, I'm over here in Somerset at the moment, doing a house sit. That's what I'm doing at the moment. I'll make some more videos in the future about what it is that I'm having to go through on this life of navigating your spiritual side. It's a very tricky journey, I find. But imagine then, I go to bed, I'm here in Somerset in this barn conversion. I wake up and I'm in a completely different location, right? Let's just say I wake up, I'm on the beach. Like, you'd wake up and you'd be forever for the rest of your life trying to figure out how on earth that happened. And everyone else would think you're completely bonkers, of course. But you would now be facing reality with this mystery that's never going to be resolved. And so that is a sensation that occurs when you have the spiritual awakening. For me, it was very much like the sensation of seeing a ghost or a balloon bursting up. The idea that we are separate is just evaporated and eviscerated in that moment. And this incredible sensation is similar also, you might think of a sort of reservoir and all these waters flowing down from these shattering walls. Like, the illusion of separation is dissipated in that moment, and you're left wondering what on earth that was, and then of course you figure out, okay, this is something that we're not particularly familiar with in the West, and then you start becoming interested in Buddhism, Hinduism, and of course the esoteric groups, the occult, things that generally are scorned upon or just misunderstood. And you begin to realise all of the strange darkness that is unfolding before our very eyes. Films like They Live, films like Solaris, films like Inception, of course, The Matrix, The Truman Show, are showing us a side of reality that has been wanting, for us. We've been trained in such a way that it keeps us constrained and living out these lives of quiet desperation, and often coming into the awareness that something is very strange, something is wrong. And again, that's what they show us in The Truman Show. But we never quite get to the moment where we have enough time on our hands to actually come together around a campfire, perhaps, and start telling ourselves these stories and start realizing that actually we don't need all of this intellect to the extent that we're having to recruit it in society. It's not that those things aren't important. It's not that the left brain, of course, isn't relevant. It is. But what that left brain is doing, and the stimulation, the soul stimulation of the left brain hemisphere, is unfortunately giving rise to an imbalance in the psyche, which is preventing people from actually experiencing Satori. It's preventing people from experiencing the chemical wedding, this incredible experience that people can have, that when you, say, for example, strike a match on a matchbox, it illuminates, right? You're creating something that wasn't there previously, which of course is the fire. But you can't do that if there's no gunpowder on the end of the stick, or whatever it is, the chemicals on the end of the stick. And similarly, you can't do it if there's not friction. So let's just think of the matchbox as the sacred feminine, okay? At the moment, we're trying to strike our masculine-dominated society and our minds against nothing, okay? It's against a smooth surface. So what we need to do is we need to develop that texture, and we do that through meditation, through imagination, through curiosity and awe. Again, in the face of a profound mystery, we have to cultivate again this amazement. It's like everything is a miracle. Like, just think about how I can even move these fingers, how I can move my eyes, how it is that I can walk around, how it is that my heart is breathing, or how it is that I'm breathing, how it is that my heart is beating, right? There's a Hermetic poem which goes something along the lines of, consider just for a moment how you were created in the womb. Think of that skillful workmanship and look for the craftsman. Who made such a beautiful godlike image? Who traced the circles of your eyes? Who separated your fingers and flattened your feet? Who pierced your nostrils, ears and mouth? Who built your bones and wrapped your flesh with skin? Statues and portraits don't just happen without painters and sculptors. Has such a sublime work no creator? And this is the amazement they can get into now about your own organism, okay? If say someone was to come along, let's say Elon Musk, okay, I've created the most advanced robot, and it's very biological, it looks incredible. He would get a ruddy bloody round of applause, wouldn't he? But the creator of these creations of our bodies, the beauty that we see all around us, gets no credit because it has been considered that it doesn't exist. Like, there's no creative principle in nature, even though that's incredibly absurd. And there's no other way around it to explain that creation is an implicit aspect of reality. There is a creative impulse at the very core of creation itself. And it's just that we have been sort of told this fairy tale of someone sitting in a cloud and just, a person doing it. But of course that's absurd. That's given rise to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is strict, abject atheism. And it's at our own expense, because spirituality and this mid-ground between the two, this equilibrium between the two minds, the two brain hemispheres, can cause an incredible evolution in our species and allow us to reach our fullness, our potential. And that's really what I'm trying to help people do at newearth.land, which is ultimately about trying to create more freedom, abundance, well-being in the world. You can learn all about that at the URL www.newearth.land. So do check it out if you're interested in coming together and participating in co-creating a social foundation where we can begin to express ourselves more freely, and we can win ourselves more freedom, more time to begin imagining and to return to this childlike awe, as I mentioned, in the face of a profound mystery. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. I'll be making some more very soon, but have a lovely weekend, or whatever time of the week you happen to be watching this video. See you next time.